Good morning and welcome to SnapTech IT's monthly webinar for November 2024. My name is Ted Halsey. I'm Chief Revenue Officer for SnapTech IT and your host for today's event. Thanks for joining in for the live session today. The webinar will be recorded and circulated to all registrants. You can always visit us on our YouTube channel for all of our content on demand. The topic for today is Life Hack My Microsoft 365, Tips and Tricks to Boost Your Productivity. I'm joined today by SnapTech co-founder and president, Sean Brown. Sean, welcome to the webinar.
Good afternoon, Ted. So it's not just good morning for everybody. Some of us are over here on the East Coast. So good afternoon for those over here on the East Coast and maybe throughout the country except for in California, right?
Yeah, I guess I'm joining from Oakland, California. Sean's in Atlanta, Georgia. Welcome to everybody to another one of our sessions. Let's hear, one thing we like to do in all of our educational content is just make sure we give a 1 or 2 minute introduction on who SnapTech is, in case you don't know anything about the company. We are a cybersecurity first managed IT provider with operations in Atlanta, Georgia, Phoenix, Arizona, and San Francisco, California. And we have clients also nationwide. Our point of view about the technology landscape is that technology should be helping your business solve problems, not creating them. But what we often see is that technology is often getting in the way. Technology is dragging down people's productivity. It's causing you downtime. Executives are losing sleep because you're not confident your cybersecurity posture is where it needs to be. Our goal is to solve all those problems for our clients, and we do it with a proven process. When clients come on board with us, we make sure that they have a technology plan, they have a predictable IT budget. We implement our best practices that we've honed over 20 years. And what our clients get is they get the ability to have their people be productive no matter where they are, whether they're in the office or remote. And when things break, things do break in technology all the time. When things do break, we are here to support you. And we're here to give you that peace of mind that you're operating at the highest possible level from a cybersecurity perspective, so that you can have that peace of mind that your people and your data and your organization is protected at all times. So that's how that's kind of some of the things we do for our clients and how we operate philosophically. And we really serve clients in 2 different ways. If you're a smaller organization and you want a outsourced provider to do everything for you, that's what we call managed IT. If, on the other hand, you're a larger organization and you have an IT director or an IT manager or a whole team, and you want to outsource select functions or bring in outside expertise, we call that co-managed IT. And we serve clients in both of these different ways. So that's kind of it in terms of like the advertisement on who we are. Let's get into today's content. We do this actually webinar. We've done it. I think this is the 3rd year in a row we've done it. And we say, Life Hack My Microsoft 365. What do we mean by that? The reality is that Microsoft is one of the largest software companies in the world, if not the largest. The Microsoft 365 platform is pretty convincingly like their biggest play in the marketplace today. And it's a beast. It's where we work on email. It's where we draft documents. It's where we chat and communicate and do video conferencing. It's where we create PowerPoint presentations. This platform is super relevant for all of our clients and for most of the business world. But what we realize is that we see all the time that clients are underutilizing their tools. They're paying for software, they're paying for capabilities, but this platform is such a beast, it's really hard to learn about the features and killer apps that are out there. And so we call it life hacking your Microsoft 365. So we take a moment, let's take a step back and let's really try to peel back the onion and try to expose some of the cooler things that we find clients often don't know about, and little tips and tricks that we've discovered along the way or that we're using every day, and just try to drive some education around that. Now, the big news for 2024, I would say, is Copilot. Microsoft introduced Copilot in late 2023, and it's really taken off in 2024. You have like the mega trend of generative AI. Microsoft has arguably done the best job commercializing artificial intelligence in a software platform because they've taken all of the goodness from the OpenAI technology, ChatGPT-like functionality, and that large language model, and they've baked it in to the Microsoft platform. and they've commercialized it in a massive sort of way. So today, a lot of the things we're going to touch on with Microsoft 365 platform, we're going to touch on various things around Copilot. But we're also going to look at some things that are just really unique to Microsoft 365. Even if you haven't licensed Copilot or you're just beginning your journey to learn more about it, there's plenty of other content we're going to get into. So, and then Sean and I are going to kind of tag team. This is, after we get out of the PowerPoints here in a moment, this is going to be very demo focused, and we're going to really get hands-on with the product. So Sean and I, before we hopped on, did a prayer to the demo gods, and we are very hopeful that everything works. But just a couple comments on Copilot if you're not familiar with Copilot. We've been out on the road all this year evangelizing Copilot and introducing it to our clients and prospective clients. We've been doing workshops and lunch and learns and seminars and that sort of thing. But if you're not familiar with Copilot, Copilot is Microsoft's main artificial intelligence generative AI solution. And you can experience it in a couple different ways. There's various ways to experience it on a free basis, but you don't really get the real value of it until you start getting into the paid tiers. You can license Copilot Pro for $20 a month. It's a month-to-month subscription, and it's really kind of a prosumer version of the product, and that can add this capability inside Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and Outlook. But you don't get the functionality in Teams and some of the more advanced capabilities in a traditional business environment. For that, you need to step up to Copilot for Microsoft 365. And the way Microsoft licenses that is it's $360 per user per year, and they only sell it on an annual basis. And so effectively, it's a $30 cost a month. So just to give some perspective on that, I mean, most of our clients today use Microsoft 365 Business Premium, and that costs anywhere from about $22 to $23 a month. So Microsoft is really charging quite a big premium for this technology, and it's because it's so amazing. Just to give this slide, I think does a nicer job of just kind of showing the feature differences. When you step up to Copilot for Microsoft 365, you're going to get that capability in Teams. You're going to get the ability to leverage Copilot in your corporate environment, in your domain as an organization, as a company. And that's really important. And we'll talk about why that's so important in a moment here. And you get a host of additional kind of enterprise-grade data protection and governance capabilities. Now, when you look at, I do want to remind you, if you do have questions, use the Q&A feature. I'm going to be handing the ball to Sean here shortly for live demos. But just a comment about how Copilot works. So first of all, Copilot incorporates the large language model capability that we've all experienced with ChatGPT, which is the freemium product that's been introduced by the company OpenAI. OpenAI is an independent company, but Microsoft is the biggest investor in OpenAI. The OpenAI technology runs on Microsoft Azure in the cloud. So there's a really strong relationship between Microsoft and OpenAI. And what Microsoft has done is they've taken that capability of generative AI, the ability for a large language model technology to generate human-like text, and they've baked it into the Microsoft 365 platform. And so you can get all of that ChatGPT-like functionality inside Word, inside Outlook, inside PowerPoint, and so on and so forth. But what makes it even more powerful is that when you are a corporate customer of Microsoft, you have what's called your domain, which is your private cloud environment where all of your email lives, all of your calendar, and all of your SharePoint data. It lives in a secure environment in the Microsoft cloud. And Microsoft now calls this your Microsoft Graph. And Copilot can leverage content that's in your Microsoft Graph without you having to expose your private data to the large language model. So it sits between and gives you kind of the best of both worlds. It allows you to use the functionality that kind of goes to the open web and says, hey, write me a memo about any topic under the sun, and it's leveraging that open large language model. Or on the other hand, you could say, hey, look, I have a memo, I have my meeting notes from that peer group meeting I was at 2 weeks ago in my OneDrive, create a memo for me from my meeting notes. And it's going to go and use your private content from your OneDrive environment to actually generate the content. So just a little bit about Copilot. What we're going to do right now is we're going to change gears, and I'm going to hand it to Sean, and we're going to look at some of the core use cases and ways to life hack your Microsoft 365. Sean's going to give kind of two big buckets of demos in Outlook and Word, and then we're going to switch back to me, and we're going to talk about Teams and how Teams works with Copilot today, and we're going to look at PowerPoint a little bit and how PowerPoint is fundamentally different when you add in Copilot. So with that, Sean, let me, I don't know if you got any other comments.
So just one other quick comment, which would be, if you are interested in Copilot licensing, know that you don't have to buy it for every user in your environment. You can start with your key executives, or you can start with your sales team. So, just because you have, 75 employees in your company, you do not have to buy it across the entire user base. You can buy it for select people to test it, play with. That's how we started about a year ago. We got it for our executive team so that we could start kind of learning and playing and enhancing our productivity. I'll tell you, I've gotten way more than $360 worth of value out of this tool, hands down. So that was the only other comment I had. So.
All right, so Sean, I've made you the presenter, and so.
Oh boy, so let's see what happens here with the old demo gods. So, all right, I think I am sharing my screen, and
I can see you in the new Outlook. Yes.
Okay, so this is actually our demo environment too. So we'll go through. So I've got Outlook open here, and I'm just using the web version of Outlook, but this works the exact same way if you're using the Outlook installed on your machine or you're using the web version. So we're in our kind of 365 demo environment. And so I've got Outlook opened up. I am currently logged in our demo environment as the CEO of this fictitious organization. And so we're going to walk through a couple of little tips and tricks, and then I'm going to show you a couple of things that are also kind of really cool that you can do inside here using Copilot. So the first thing that not a lot of people understand or know it's really there is this is a typical looking, Outlook interface. You can see that I have been emailing the CEO of this fictitious organization a number of different. We're talking about the Life Hack My M365 webinar, but one of the features that I'm going to show here is you can come up to view, and instead of having to go and scroll all the way down through your email trying to find this kind of conversation and everything that kind of happened, you can go to conversations and group into conversation. So this is a little handy tool that I don't know if a lot of people know is kind of buried inside Outlook. But what that does is it groups all of your conversations. So now I can go to this email that I'm currently having, and I can click on this little down arrow here, and it shows me all of the emails in sequence, not only the emails that I sent the CEO, but the CEO sent back to me. So it's a way to easily kind of just see the entire conversation grouped all together, so you don't have to go, look through your email for different things. So grouping conversations is a little feature that I don't think a lot of people know about. If you do, cool. If not, I find this very useful sometimes whenever I'm looking through and trying to just remember where I'm at in a certain email thread. So that's kind of grouping emails, and you can kind of see how that works. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to stay on this kind of email thread that we're on, and I'm going to use Copilot now. And so Copilot, you can see, adds a little summary by Copilot section here. So if I don't want to go and read through all of these emails, or I've gotten copied on a number of different email kind of threads, and I don't want to go read everybody's response, I can click this summarize. And what it's going to do is it's going to summarize all of this email thread for me. So it can see what happens, and it gives me a pretty good summary of kind of what happened throughout this entire email thread. So pretty neat thing. Just again, as a quick example of how you can do a summary, not only of one email, but of an entire email thread using Copilot. I find that very useful. I use that feature a lot. The other one that I'm going to do is, let's say that you're going back and forth and you're communicating with somebody and you want to just schedule a meeting. It's gotten too crazy over email. Time to just schedule a meeting. Let's get together. So using Copilot, I can click on this top email that I'm currently on, and I can use this schedule with Copilot feature. So schedule with Copilot is going to open up a calendar invite for me. I can pick whatever date and time we want in here. And then the really cool thing that this is going to do, it automatically flags it as a Teams message, but it attaches the email. It built an agenda based on the content of the email, and it gives me a summary of the conversation. And then I can insert that into my calendar invite that I am going to send to the CEO and to me over on my SnapTech account. So quick way to summarize an email, put all the things that you may want to talk about from a meeting and an agenda standpoint in there, and my meeting invite goes over. So quick little feature. I use that feature a good bit right now too, just to help me build like quick context around why we're having a meeting and what agenda we may want to talk about. Okay, so my next thing, I don't know how many people use this one or not. I use this one a good bit as well. And it is using categories inside of Outlook. And so I'll click on this email that we got from Microsoft 365. And down in here, I can go to categories. And it's pretty easy to, well, I'm going to go down to manage categories and just show you what that looks like. And I've just found some sample things in here. All right, everybody, fingers crossed on the, all right, there we go. So you can create any kind of category you want. And so, I've just thrown in a couple of samples in here, like urgent, sales. Hey, this is a newsletter. This, if you got a VA, hey, this may be a VA task, or when they complete it, it may be, they may flag it as, hey, I've gotten this completed, or hey, I need you to review this. Only this user can review it. But what that enables you to do is, you can see I've kind of tagged a couple of emails. I found this really helpful whenever I've got people helping me kind of review and manage email. You can come in here and use tags or categories to kind of tag different emails. And then there's all kinds of sorting and grouping and things that you can do along the lines of using these kind of categories. So categorizing emails puts a little tag on it, so you can kind of easily filter and see kind of what kind of categories. So that's a little feature that I don't think a lot of people kind of understand or know there. I found that one kind of helpful as well. The other one that I use an awful lot too is, let's say that I've created a subfolder, or I've got, this is a demo environment, so there's not a whole lot here, but if you're like my inbox, I've got lots of subfolders inside my main inbox. Now, there are some of those that I reference all the time. And so instead of having to go navigate down my inbox and multiple subfolders, you can actually add this. So if you right click on it, you can add it to your favorites. And so the favorites show up here. And so if you have like an important, kind of subfolder, or you've got a client folder, or you've got an urgent folder, or whatever that you're going to access a lot. I know some people that have like automated emails that come in that automatically just go to a subfolder, like a newsletter, for example. You may want to see it in the future, but it's not something you want to see in your inbox all the time. And then you can just quickly, create a favorite here and be able to click and go to your favorites. Another thing that I think is pretty interesting and cool. Let's say we've got a important email like this one. So important Copilot project email that we've got going on, I want to make sure I don't forget that I need to respond to this. I need it to be top of mind, or I get an email that comes in the middle of the day. I want to make sure that I respond to it, but I don't have time to respond to it at that moment. You can use this little pen icon and pin that email to the very top of your inbox. I find this very helpful whenever I've got, again, emails that come in. I don't have time to respond to it right then. I'll pin it to the top of my email, and I know that that's something that I need to make sure that I get to at some point in the near future or later that day. So pinning an email, I think, is really kind of cool. I found another feature that is kind of an interesting thing, and it's snoozing an email. So let's say, for example, that we got this 365 Copilot, and for whatever reason, you want to snooze it, meaning I don't want to see it in my inbox right now, but it'd be really cool if, it came back and later today at 2:00. So this is on Pacific time, so a couple hours. So I can snooze this email to later today. So if I click that, it's going to disappear out of my inbox, and at 2:00 Pacific time, it'll show back up. So neat little thing. I can tell you, I don't really use that very often or ever, but it was a neat little feature that I didn't even know was there as I was kind of looking at that. Now, here's another one that I think is pretty interesting. How many of you have sent an email? Now, this really only works the best internally inside the organization, so inside your 365 tenant. But hypothetically, let's say we're going to go send an email to our account manager, and so you guys don't have to watch me type. We're gonna do this. We're actually going to draft it with Copilot too. So I'm gonna do a couple of quick demos here, so I can draft an email with Copilot, and we're going to ask our account manager, hey, what's the status of the big account? And when I click generate here, it's going to generate an email for me that says, hey, I hope this email finds you well. I'm reaching out to inquire about the status of the big account, blah, blah, blah. And I want to click keep it. And I am going to send this email. So I've sent it to the account manager. And then I realized, oh, you know what? I just sent that to the wrong account manager. I really needed to send that to somebody else. I'm sure you guys have never sent an email that you wanted to get back. I know I have. So if I go in here, I can go into my account manager email that I just sent. So I went into the sent items. I can right click on this. I can go to advanced options, and I can recall that message. Now, when I do this, it will pull that email back out of the account manager's inbox. If they haven't seen it, great. They'll never see it. If they have, if they're Johnny on the spot and they're watching their email all the time, nothing we can really do about that. But it sends me this email that says, hey, you've recalled this message. I can click here, and then we can see the status of what's going to happen. Sorry, I got to log into that account. And here it is. It is currently pending. So it's currently getting recalled in the system. We'll come back to that in a second, because it takes it a second to actually recall that message. The other thing that I want to show is this thing called the My Day view. And so if you're like me, I live inside my calendar. I always have tons of things scheduled inside my calendar. So I think it's helpful if I'm in the middle of my email without having to flip over to my calendar. I can use the My Day view and pull up and see what things are on my calendar. If I've got any kind of task that I've created inside of Planner or To Do, it'll also show up over here as a task that I need to get created. Or if you flag an email, then say, hey, I need to do this today, which is what I've done to this email right here. You can see that I've flagged it, and it drops it over here into my To Do. But I can also see my other meetings and things that are on my calendar for this day. So quick, easy view of your calendar and to-dos while you're inside of email. So without having to bounce back and forth between your email and over to your calendar view, you can kind of get a quick glance at that as well. Okay. We already kind of talked a little bit about kind of creating a new email using Copilot. I'll just kind of do a demo of that real quick. Hey, Ted, looks like you've got an email there. So let's, we're going to draft another email with Copilot. And I want to know what's happening with the big project that we're working on with for XYZ company. And we'll just copy and paste the subject here. And again, we're going to create a quick email. You can change this, so it does have some important kind of editing prompts to it. Like I can make it shorter or longer, or more formal, more direct, more casual. For some reason, you can even make it a poem. I don't know why I would ever make it a poem, but apparently you can. Let's make this a more formal request to Ted about this project, and then we'll kind of keep it. Now, does this thing create exactly in your own words exactly how you might do it? No. But does it help me get, call it 70 or 80% of the way there? Absolutely. So the way I use this a lot is I'll start an email this way. The better you prompt it, the better results that you'll get from it. So the more detail you're able to put into it, again, the better it will write the email for you. And then I usually go through, read it, and tweak it, because it's always going to put a couple of things in there that don't really sound like me. So I'll want to go through and kind of just tweak it a little bit. But instead of having to write it completely from scratch, it saves me a couple of minutes by just being able to create the prompt. I get a professionally pretty nice written email that I'll go in and just kind of tweak, and then off we go, and we've sent it. And Ted, you just got a new email. So the other thing that I think is really cool, I use this a lot as well, and I'll use this here as an example. In fact, a lot of these emails that you see here were written kind of back and forth using Copilot. And so let's say it's time to reply to Sean. I can click this and I want to do a custom reply. So I'll just click down here and say, looks great. See you soon. And even with that little quick prompt, you can see how Copilot took my little quick prompt that I just gave it and is replying back to Sean about the Life Hack My 365 webinar and how excited they are. So, and we'll send that off. So the replying to email works very much like creating an email. I found that very helpful as well. Now, the next thing that I'm going to jump into here is there's actually, when you get Copilot, there's a new Copilot section inside of Outlook that's kind of baked in. So the first one we're going to do is let's stay informed. So let's say instead of using the CMO, we're going to say, hey, I've been emailing back and forth with Sean. What's the latest from Sean? Organize my emails, chats, and files. So this is kind of a tool that will go search Teams messages. Again, this is something I use a lot, especially, I don't know about you, Ted, but all the time I'm like, did Ted send me that an email or was that a chat message? Where is that? So instead of me going and looking in email and looking in Teams, I'll use it depending on if I'm in Outlook, I'll use it here. If I'm in Teams, I can use it over in Teams. And I'll just say, hey, summarize and show me my latest kind of correspondence with Ted. And it will show me emails. So you can see these emails. It'll show me any chats that are there or any files that specifically, that I was involved in. And you can actually click on these. They're clickable. So you can click on them and see the actual email and kind of what's happening. So I can go down through and click on any of these emails and get right to the email. So that's that. The other one that I'll start a new chat here. In fact, I'm going to turn this off so you can see a little bit more of my screen. These are just a couple of sample prompts that they put up and just ideas that you can use, but there's also a whole bunch of other prompts. All kinds of different things that you'll see in here that they suggest that you can use. This is a great place to spend, we could probably spend an entire webinar playing around with different prompts and doing kind of a prompt education inside of here. But lots of just interesting, cool things that you can kind of prompt. You can also save prompts. So I saved a prompt that was, and I'll just kind of click on this. So suggest 10 compelling titles for a webinar about 365 and Copilot. So again, here was a prompt that I saved and it cranked out. None of them, Ted, are the life hack my M365, but I guess these are okay as well. So when we're looking for a next one, maybe we can use one of these instead. Okay, so that's how you do save prompts. And then I'm going to go one more thing. I'm going to go back into the prompt section, and then I'll show you this other link here, which is see all prompts. So these are prompts that have been just saved up here as templates, different ideas. You can pull up different apps. So these are different prompts by apps you can do. You can look at different prompts by different tasks, job type, or Copilot agent. So lots of different prompts, and I can click here and show all kinds of different prompts that you can kind of go through that are all kind of saved in here. So that's a little bit about prompting. Maybe prompts will be one of the next kind of webinars that we do next in 2025. All right, now I'm going to shift gears real quick. So that's kind of what I have for Outlook and a couple of little hacks. Hopefully you guys learned a little tip or trick inside there, little features that you may not know about. And then I've got a couple here that we'll kind of go through inside of Word. So I know this doesn't look like Word, but Word's down here. This is inside my 365 kind of component. I'm actually going to go to OneDrive in order to kind of talk about some Word stuff. So as part of our demo, our labs that we did earlier this year, Ted had a case study around Red Lobster as part of this demo. So I'm going to use Copilot because I don't want to go read this entire document, but I can come in here and inside Copilot, I can just ask it to give me a summary of this document. So without even opening the document, I can come in here and click this, and it's going to read this document and just provide me a summary of what this document is about. So especially if you got really long documents, it's kind of cool to be able to go in there and quickly generate a summary. You don't even have to open the document in order to do that. So I think that's pretty interesting, pretty neat. All right, let me see what else I've got over here for you on this. So let's actually open this document. So I'm going to open this document up in Word. So here's the document that was created. If I'm in the document, Copilot is also integrated here on my list. And I could click the summary button again, and it's going to generate a summary of this document as well. So a couple of quick ways that you can do summary information in here. The other thing that I really like is, let's say we've got this intro, and I don't really like this intro. And so what I would like to see is, you know what, let's rewrite this intro. So I just prompted it and said, hey, rewrite this. And you can see it uses the generative AI and rewrites this for me. I can easily copy it, paste it, replace what we've got in there. And then, Ted, I got to be honest, as I was kind of reading down through, this document, I noticed that one of the most important things about Red Lobster. I don't know if you guys know this or not, but there was no paragraph about the cheddar biscuits. So we're going to write a paragraph real quick about the cheddar biscuits at Red Lobster. So you can see, I mean, you can pretty much type in whatever you want, but you can't go to Red Lobster and not get the cheddar biscuits. So I'm going to grab and add cheddar biscuit paragraph into our document as well. And then here's the other one that I think is really cool. And this is, not even part of Copilot. This is just built into Word. Again, a feature that I don't know if a lot of people know is in here. So inside, if you go up into File and View History on a document. So what this does is, here is the current version of the document. Here is Ted's original version that he created back in August. So I can see Ted's original version of the document. So version control basically is built into Word. And so if I'm in here, I can go and click on my most recent one. It showed me, I replaced the introduction with one that I wrote in Copilot. And then I also added in my Cheddar Bay biscuit, because it's got to be there. And so you can easily see from a version standpoint and be able to revert back, download this copy, switch it back, but being able to see from a version control standpoint. And if there were multiple versions, you would see, like, again, this is a test environment, so limited amount here, but you would see all the different versions and saved times that this document got saved, and be able to go and see what changed, who changed it, and revert back and copy different things out of that. Okay, now I'm going to back out. We're going to create one more new document here from scratch, and I'm going to copy and paste this over. And again, this could be, think about how you would do this for your industry, for your topic, whatever you want, but we're going to write a new document, and I want a 1,000-word blog about the importance of deploying application whitelisting security solution in your corporate environment. Oh, look, it's even prompting me. Include real-world examples and emphasize benefits. Yeah, that's kind of neat. But all right, so we're going to create this. And this is going to write a 1,000-word blog for me, lickety-split. All right. And there we go. Ted, I've written your newest blog.
You're right.
And you're ready to go.
So, yeah, I mean, it just, when you see this in action, it's like, you've got to embrace this technology, because your competitors are embracing this technology. The only people whose jobs are going to be eliminated because of AI are the people who refuse to use AI. So, right. I mean, it's just quite astounding, this tech. So.
All right. Well, I know we're limited on time, so those are a couple of quick things. Hopefully, you got some benefit. You learned a couple of little tips and tricks out of that. Ted, I think I've stopped sharing, and I'll kind of hand it back to you.
Yeah, and did you make, yeah, okay, and you made me the presenter again, right? No, I think you need to make me the presenter, Sean.
All right. I think I have now clicked that button.
Okay, cool. All right, so, okay, so just to kind of, let's think about a different aspect of how we might be, where do we live a lot? So Sean showed Outlook and Word, right? We spend a ton of time in Outlook. We spend a ton of time on Word, using it to create documents, but we also spend a ton of time in Microsoft Teams today, right? So we're doing video conferencing. And one of the, I think since the pandemic, I think video conferencing has become kind of like the way we do meetings, whether people are in the office or remote, whether it's an internal meeting or an external meeting. We really like video conferencing, and video-based collaboration is the new standard, right? Now, where we're going is one of the things you can do as an organization in Microsoft 365 is you can turn on transcriptions and recording of your meetings. that functionality is turned off by default. But when you can, as the administrator in your Microsoft 365 environment, can go turn on recording and transcription, and that really unlocks a core capability. I mean, first of all, having a recording of a meeting is great because people miss meetings, or you need to go back and reference a recording. But having a transcription of the meeting is super valuable because then all of the words that were spoken during the meeting are then transcribed. But it really takes it to another level once you have recording and transcription turned on and you've got Copilot, because Copilot can start doing really interesting and intelligent things with the transcription from the meeting. And so that's what I want to show here is before we started today's conversation, we're recording today's webinar in GoToWebinar. And Sean and I were like, had our fingers crossed that this was going to work and it wasn't going to goof up the audio. But we went in before we started today's session and I started a Teams meeting that I was the only participant in. And I started the meeting, 5 minutes before we started. And I recorded the first 25 minutes or 20 minutes of our meeting today. I recorded in parallel in Microsoft Teams. So I started the meeting before we started, turned on recording, made sure transcription was on, and then it recorded that. And then when I handed the ball to Sean to do the Outlook and the Word demo, I went over and closed out the meeting, ended that meeting, and then it takes the Microsoft Cloud a couple minutes to render, to save the recording and then digest the transcript and be able to then do something with it. So whenever you record a meeting, it's going to end up with Teams. It ends up in something called Stream. So when you're looking at all of your apps in here, you want to look for Stream, and you could think of Stream. You could think of Stream as kind of like your internal YouTube for your company. Okay, and so all of your meetings that you record will show up in Stream, and that's where you go access them. But I'm going to look at this one right here. So this is a recording of the first part of today's webinar, and I'm just going to show you like the recap functionality. So the recap functionality, this is all about if you miss a meeting. I mean, who misses? We all miss meetings, and sometimes it's like, well, send me the meeting minutes, and it's like, oh, you didn't send me the meeting minutes, and it's like, how do I catch up on these things? Whether you're on vacation or you're out in the field or you're at a trade show and you miss a meeting, the recap the meeting function is like a killer app. So I'm going to click on this, and what Copilot is doing is Copilot is looking at the transcription and then serving up to us a really crisp summary of what we just went through together as a team. So you can see this, you see it's not perfect. It got my name wrong. I mean, it got my spelling of my name wrong. Like, that's kind of weird because I'm logged in. This is actually in my SnapTech Teams environment with Copilot. So why did it misspell the name? Who knows? There are bugs. Not all of this works perfectly. That's kind of an overall caveat. But what you see is that this is a very high fidelity rendering of the portion of the meeting everybody on today's webinar was in. So we had a webinar introduction. I gave a brief overview of SnapTech. I talked about our service offerings. We gave an introduction to Copilot. We talked about the licensing and the functionality. And then I talked about the upcoming demos that Sean and I were going to do. So this is just to show you, like, this is, I mean, to me, this is one of those killer apps of where Copilot just takes the Microsoft platform to another level, because the ability to have a recap of a meeting, and we didn't really have action items discussed in the meeting, but most meetings have to-dos or action items or next steps, and what you would also see those summarized here as well if those existed in the meeting. So anyway, that's kind of that's what we wanted to show around recording, transcription, using Copilot to recap a meeting. What we want to do now is quickly show just a little more of the razzle dazzle of Copilot, and this time in PowerPoint, and then we'll go to your questions. We've got a couple questions queued up. Ask more of them as we go here, and we'll try to address your questions.
I've been trying to answer a couple of them as we go here.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Sean.
Yep.
So I think the other thing to look at is, Sean showed how Copilot is super capable at creating content creating content from, responding to emails, being really smart about knowing what's already in your inbox. And then he showed how Word can kind of create, summaries from content that's in your OneDrive folder or in SharePoint. Or it can go to the large language model, it can go to the outside web and actually create content raw, from without looking at your Microsoft graph or looking at the internal content. So what I want to do first is just create a presentation, and I'm going to go create a presentation about, so let's see here. Okay, I think I need to refresh this real quick. Okay, so I'm in PowerPoint for the web, and I'm going to make sure the Copilot is showing up over here. Okay, so I'm going to create a presentation. I'm just going to create a presentation about the electric vehicle market. Okay, EVs. Okay, all right, and let's see what it does here. And so I think there was a question around that Rita had around like, hey, that blog, like where is that information being pulled from? So Sean showed how to create like a blog from just a prompt that is actually, tackling like a very technical topic. It is going out to the OpenAI large language model and generating that content from all of the knowledge that's in the large language model. Here, we're doing the same thing, but now we're doing it in PowerPoint instead of Word. So it's working on it, and fingers crossed here, it's going to start generating slides for us with any luck. Normally it's a little snappier, but let's see here. Let's just be patient.
It's the demo. That's what happened.
Yeah, and I might toggle over to PowerPoint that's not on the web. Okay. Something went wrong. Let me try this. I'm going to try. You know what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do it. I'm going to do it from over here. So just same thing we're doing, but we're going to use PowerPoint, the fat client of PowerPoint, and I'm going to make sure. Let's see here. So create a presentation about electric vehicles. Okay. So hopefully we're going to see this happen here.
Look, if that's our only demo bug that happens today, that's pretty good.
Let me make this a little bit bigger.
Yeah, so there's another question while that's building around, hey, we moved our files to Ignite last year. Should we move things back to OneDrive? Now, OneDrive definitely has some cool things that it's now doing with Copilot. There's no doubt. OneDrive specifically, though, is more like a private folder just for an individual. And SharePoint is the one that is more kind of like Ignite. Ignite provides a lot more features, security, functionality. Depending on the size of the organization, we've seen organizations run into a lot of issues when you start having a lot of documents inside the SharePoint environment. So I'm hoping with what's coming is we'll start seeing better interfaces and accessibility across a couple of these platforms. So the answer that I would give right now is kind of stay tuned. I mean, we currently use Ignite internally as well. So I would say just stay tuned, and I'm hoping that we're going to see some interfaces and some accessibility get kind of opened up across a couple of these platforms.
Okay, so for whatever reason, like Copilot is having a little bit of a trouble like creating like a PowerPoint on the electric vehicle industry from scratch, and maybe we'll have a moment or two to come back to it and try it again in a moment. but I want to show something different, which is kind of similar to what I was just doing. So when you're creating content in Copilot, one of the things you're usually doing one of two things. You're either, taking a topic where you want to kind of suck in the whole information from the world, and you want to create something from scratch that's going to get you to 80%. And that's what I was just trying to do on the electrical vehicle thing, and it was crapping out on me. So, but the other thing you're going to often want to do is you'll have content in your own OneDrive. Like an example that we do all the time is we record these webinars, and we take the recording of the webinar and we create a transcript from the webinar, and then we usually want to write a blog about the webinar. Today, what we're doing is we're recording the webinar, we have the transcript, and then we use Copilot to study the transcript of the webinar and write us a blog really quickly. That's a very good use case. And so what I just did here is I had recorded, 2 weeks ago, Sean and I were at a trade show meeting, a peer group meeting, and we recorded this very interesting talk that this lady came in and gave on the defense industry and this really complex regulation that's cybersecurity regulation that's going through the defense industry. I recorded her talk, I created a transcript, I stored it in OneDrive and as a Word document, and then I just asked Copilot to look at that transcript of her talk and to create a PowerPoint from it. And what's so, this is like pretty crazy. Like this was a very off the cuff. She came in, she talked for 45 minutes. She's super knowledgeable, so the content was killer, like the recording of her talk. But this very quickly created like a 12 page, 13, 15, 16, 17 page PowerPoint presentation on CMMC, which is this regulation on the defense contracting industry. And using the content that she shared, it built a PowerPoint present from scratch that is super accurate, based upon like a knowledgeable expert who I've already seen give this talk. I know she's an expert, so I know the quality of this content is like super, super high. I know its provenance, I know the authority of the speaker, and now I've been able to create a PowerPoint that I could then share internally with my colleagues, lickety split, and it gets me to 80-90% in no time flat. And so this is, to me, when we talk about AI, I think a lot of people get concerned about how we're all going to start sounding the same because we're just using these tools to create this content. The art of the whole thing is to leverage your own content and expertise internally. Use your own meeting notes, your own transcripts of your own events that your team has done, your own intellectual property, and then using these tools as a way to boost your productivity. Like I just showed here, I took a recording of a meeting that Sean and I were in, transcribed it, and then turned it into a PowerPoint in just a couple of minutes. So that's how powerful this technology is. And yeah, I think, why don't we try one more time to see if PowerPoint can and Copilot can create a new presentation. And I'm just going to go create a presentation about I'm going to just do that. I'm going to just do this. Yeah, Sean, go ahead.
I was about to say, while you were talking, I created one for you. I Teamsed it to you.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, so fortunately, fortunately, for whatever reason, asking about the electrical vehicle market on my machine at that moment in time was giving me fits, but I asked it to generate the slides for create a PowerPoint presentation about the chocolate industry, something we all can know and love more. And let's have a look at what it produces for us. All right, fingers crossed here. Let's see here. All right.
Now, I spent a whole minute building you a presentation on electric cars.
And let's see. And you teamed it to me?
I did.
All right. Well, let's see here. I could maybe. I think probably one of the things I'm maybe doing is just overburdening my machine because I got so many different things going. But here we go. webinar here by just completely overloading my machine. But anyway,
Let's see if I've got any other
but
questions.
Sean is, you know, all right. So Sean saved the day here, and here's the PowerPoint presentation that he created just on the fly in 1 minute on the electric vehicles industry. And so anyway, like I think just to bring us back to our main PowerPoint here. Let me just get back to here, and let's just kind of wrap up. So I think, as you saw, not all of this tech works perfectly all the time, but it's extremely powerful, the things you can do with the Microsoft 365 platform, and the way you can, with Copilot, in many ways takes things to another level. Sean, any final thoughts or advice for our audience today?
I would just say, if you're interested in learning more about Copilot, we're going to do another webinar that is more specific around features, functionality, more demo stuff. We continue to be asked a lot about this topic, and so from a lot of our customers, and so we're just trying to get the word out, show people how we're using it, show you the advantages and some of the efficiencies that we're gaining internally using some of this technology. So we're going to do a similar type thing in just a couple of weeks and dive into more examples and more Copilot specific content.
Yeah, and it's going to be live, just pure live demo. So we've been doing lunch and learns recently, where we spend about an hour and a half with the audience. We're going to try to just condense it down into 1 hour, make it super demo focused, so that that's another session that you'd maybe want to invite a colleague to, so that they believe you when you tell them, like, wow, this thing is so amazing, you've got to see it for yourself. Come join us for that webinar. You can just snap the QR code there. And if you are in the market to have a conversation around changing who your MSP is today, if you're looking to raise the bar on cybersecurity, or you're having struggles with your current provider, or if you're a fast-growing organization and you need more help, you can also use this QR code to simply quickly get on our calendar and set up a one-on-one meeting where we can do a free consultation for you with an expert. But with that, so we covered a lot of ground. Sean, thank you for the killer demos and all the tips and tricks. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in today's live session on Life Hack My Microsoft 365. And we look forward to seeing you guys on our December webinar. Take care now.
Thanks.